Reddit story. I found out my girlfriend was living a double life, and I wish I didn't dig deeper. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to post something like this. But after everything that's happened, I don't even know what's real anymore. So yeah, I need to get this off my chest. I met her 2 years ago. It wasn't anything crazy, just a normal night, mutual friends, cheap drinks, loud music. She wasn't even the loudest person in the room. Actually, that's what made me notice her. She was quiet, observing, smiling like she knew something no one else did. We started talking and it just clicked. You know that feeling when a conversation flows so naturally that you forget time exists? Yeah, that. For the first few months, everything was perfect. Too perfect, actually. She was thoughtful, always remembered small details, knew exactly what to say when I had a bad day. She'd randomly show up with coffee or text me something that felt like it came straight out of my own thoughts. It felt like she understood me better than anyone ever had. Looking back now, that should have been my first red flag. About 6 months in, I started noticing small things. Nothing obvious, just gaps. Like she'd disappear for hours, sometimes an entire evening. And when I asked, she'd brush it off. Just needed some alone time. Phone died. Went to see a friend. Normal excuses. And I didn't question it. Because why would I? Until one night. It was a Friday. We were supposed to meet for dinner. She texted me around 6 p.m., saying she was running late. Something about work. No big deal. I waited. 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. No updates. No replies. Her phone went straight to voicemail. That's when I felt it. That weird, heavy feeling in your chest when something isn't right. I told myself I was overthinking, but I couldn't shake it. So I did something I'd never done before. I went to her place. Lights were off. Car wasn't there. Everything looked empty. I stood there for a minute, debating if I was being insane. Then I left. Tried to convince myself it was nothing. She texted me at 1:13 a.m. Sorry, I fell asleep. Long day. Fell asleep. For 7 hours. Without answering a single call. I should have pushed harder. But I didn't. Because I trusted her. Weeks went by. Things went back to normal. But that feeling? It stayed. Then came the second incident. We were at my place this time, just watching a movie. Her phone buzzed. She picked it up, glanced at it, and her entire expression changed. Like instantly. I noticed. Of course I did. What's up? I asked. Nothing, she said quickly. Too quickly. And then she flipped her phone face down. That was new. 5 minutes later, she stood up. I need to take this. And walked into the other room. She was gone for 10 minutes. Talking in a low voice. I couldn't hear words, just tone. Tense. Urgent. When she came back, she smiled like nothing happened. And that's when something inside me shifted. I didn't confront her. Not yet. But for the first time, I started paying attention. Over the next few weeks, I noticed patterns. She never used her phone around me anymore. She started leaving suddenly, with vague explanations. She became distant. Not cold, just less present. Like part of her was somewhere else. And then I saw it. We were out grabbing coffee. She went to the bathroom, leaving her phone on the table. It lit up. I wasn't planning to look. I swear. But the name on the screen wasn't saved. Just a number. And the message preview said, "Same time tonight." My stomach dropped. I stared at the phone. Heart racing. Trying to convince myself it was nothing. But then another message came in. "Don't be late this time." That's when I knew. Or at least, I thought I knew. When she came back, I acted normal. I didn't say anything, didn't show anything. But inside, everything was spiraling. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head. All the little moments, all the excuses, all the gaps. It finally clicked. She wasn't just being distant. She was hiding something. So, I made a decision. Well, I'm not proud of. But at the time, it felt justified. The next time she left suddenly, I followed her. I told myself I'd stop if it felt wrong, that I wasn't that kind of person. But I didn't stop. She drove across town, to a part of the city she never mentioned. And then, she pulled into a parking lot of a building I'd never seen before. It wasn't a bar, not a restaurant, not a friend's place. It looked like an office building, but it was almost 10 p.m. The lights inside were dim, only a few windows lit. She got out of the car, looked around, like she was checking if anyone was watching, then walked inside. And that's when I realized this wasn't just cheating. This was something else, something way worse. I sat in my car, hands shaking, trying to decide what to do. Leave or go inside? I wish I had left, because what I saw next completely destroyed everything I thought I knew about her. I followed her inside, and I wish I turned around. I should have left. I know that now. But at the time, curiosity felt stronger than fear. The door wasn't locked. That alone should have been enough to make me stop. But it wasn't. I stepped inside. The hallway was dimly lit, quiet in a way that didn't feel normal for a place like this. Offices usually have some kind of background noise, computers, people, something. This place, nothing. Just the faint hum of lights. I checked the directory on the wall. Most of the offices were listed as generic companies, consulting, marketing, finance. Normal stuff. But one thing stood out. The second floor had no listings. Just blank. My chest tightened. I told myself there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe it was under renovation. Maybe tenants hadn't moved in yet. Yeah, that had to be it. Except, the elevator button for the second floor was lit. Recently used. I didn't take the elevator. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. I took the stairs. Each step felt louder than it should have. Like the whole building could hear me. When I reached the second floor, the door was slightly open. Just enough to let light spill into the stairwell. And voices. Low. Muffled. But definitely there. I froze. This was the moment I could have turned back. Pretended I never came. Gone home. Slept peacefully. Instead, I pushed the door open. The hallway looked nothing like the first floor. No office signs. No decorations. No windows. Just plain walls. And doors. All closed. Except one. At the very end. That's where the light and voices were coming from. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I moved slowly, carefully, trying not to make a sound. And as I got closer, the voices became clearer. There were multiple people. At least 3. Maybe more. And then, I heard her voice. Calm. Controlled. Completely different from how she sounded with me. He still doesn't suspect anything, she said. My stomach dropped. They were talking about me. I stopped right outside the door. I shouldn't have listened. But I did. Another voice, male, older, responded. Good. We need more time. Time for what? I leaned slightly closer, trying to hear better. You said he's predictable, the man continued. Routine, habits, all easy to track. Track? My hand started shaking. She answered without hesitation. He is. Same gym schedule. Same route home. Same friends. Every word felt like a punch to the chest. This wasn't just secrets. This was planning. About me. Another voice spoke up. You're sure he won't notice anything missing? Missing? She paused, just for a second, then said, No, he trusts me. We're the same. No, I said immediately. But this time, I wasn't fully sure, because something deep inside me agreed. You felt it, didn't you? It said. Felt what? How easy it would be to stop fighting. My breath caught, because for a split second, I had the idea of letting go, not thinking, not feeling fear. It was tempting, and that terrified me more than anything. You see, it said softly. No, I forced out. I'm not you. Not yet. Silence. Then, her voice cut back in. Listen to me, she said loudly. If you can still hear me, you need to break the connection. Ow, I asked. Pain, she said instantly. You need to shock your system. Force your body to react to you, not it. Pain. I looked around. Car. Keys. Steering wheel. And then, I saw it. The metal edge of the door. This will hurt, I said. It has to, she replied. Do it now. The thing inside me went quiet. Watching. Waiting. Curious. Interesting, it said. You've been hiding this whole time, I said. No. No. I've been waiting. For what? For you to notice me. A chill went down my spine. Why? Because awareness changes the outcome. That sounded important. Ow! Another pause. Then, if you never noticed me, I would eventually become you. My chest tightened. But now? I asked. Now you can resist. That wasn't what I expected. You're giving me a choice? Yes. Why? Because a host that fights is stronger. That didn't sound good. For who? I asked. For both of us. Silence. I didn't like where this was going. What happens if I refuse? I asked. You won't, it said calmly. Try me. A pause. Then, because you've already started thinking like me. My heart skipped. No, I haven't. Haven't I? That thought didn't feel entirely mine. You're asking the right questions, it continued. You're adapting. I'm trying to survive. Exactly. Another pause. Then, people, standing around something. Something on the ground, not moving. And then, one of them looked at me. Not surprised. Interested. That's when I realized. They wanted to be seen. Everything after that came fast. Doors opening. Shouting. Hands grabbing me. And then, pain. So much pain. You remember now? It said. Yes, I thought. They were careless, it continued. They assumed you would break. Break. They tried to remove you, it said. But you resisted. I don't remember that part. You wouldn't, it replied. That's when I found you. My mind went blank for a second. Found me. You were open. I didn't like that word. Empty enough to share. My chest tightened. You attached yourself to me. Yes. Why? Another pause. Then, because you fought. That answer confused me. What does that have to do with anything? It means you don't disappear easily, it said. That makes you useful. Useful. I felt sick again. Tried to move my fingers. For a second, they twitched. Hope. And then, gone. Stop, the other voice said. My voice. Not mine. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. My stomach twisted. It wasn't panicking. It wasn't aggressive. It was patient. You can hear me, can't you? It said. And the worst part? I felt it. Not like hearing sound. Like a thought that wasn't mine. Yes, I thought. A pause. Then, good. I felt something shift inside my head. Like it moved closer. You've been very cooperative, it continued. More than most. Most? What are you? I thought. A brief silence. Then, something that survives. That didn't answer anything. Why me? I asked. You were there. That night. The memory hit harder this time. Not flashes. Pieces. I was driving. Late. Rain hitting the windshield. I took a wrong turn. Ended up near that industrial area. I remember seeing lights. Bright. Wrong. Like they didn't belong there. And then, no, I said through clenched teeth. But my body didn't listen. It kept turning. Inch by inch. Until I was looking directly at it. At myself. And this time, it wasn't delayed. It was perfectly in sync. Except for one thing. Its expression. Because while I was terrified, it looked calm. And then, it smiled. It was never trying to replace me. It was waiting. We're done pretending. The voice came out of my mouth. But it wasn't mine. Lower. Calmer. Controlled in a way I've never been. On the other end of the phone, silence. Then, I was afraid of that, she whispered. I tried to speak. Tried to move. Nothing. It was like being locked inside my own body. Watching. Hearing. But not in control. What is happening? I forced out. But even that felt wrong. Like I was sharing the space. You're losing primary control, she said quickly. Listen to me. If you can still hear me, you need to fight it. Fight it. I focused. Pushed. Her answer came immediately this time. It won't pretend anymore. My throat went dry. Pretend what? To be you. Silence. Then, something changed. I felt it before I saw it. A shift. Like my body wasn't fully mine for a second. My fingers twitched. Not by my choice. Did you just move? She asked suddenly. No, I said quickly. And then, my hand moved again. This time, clearly not me. My breath caught. I didn't do that, I whispered. I know, she said. That was worse. Okay, she said quickly, voice sharp now. You need to listen to me. If it starts taking motor control, you have to fight it. Ow, I asked, panic rising. Focus. Resist. Don't let it predict you. That doesn't make any sense. It does to it, she snapped. My hand tightened on the wheel. Harder. Too hard. Pain shot through my fingers. But I wasn't doing it. I'm losing control, I said. I know. Stay with me. And then, slowly, my head started turning. Toward the mirror. A cold wave ran through me. Like a parasite? Yes. I didn't like how quickly she agreed. And I saw this happen. Yes. And they saw me? Yes. I closed my eyes for a second. trying to process. So they took me. Yes. And then what? This time, she hesitated longer than before. They tried to erase you. My eyes snapped open. Tried. You fought. That caught me off guard. Fought how? We don't know exactly, she said. But something went wrong. Wrong. In what way? Her voice dropped again. Instead of removing you. My heart started pounding faster. They attached something to you. Everything went still. Attached. Yes. That thing in the reflection, I said. Yes. I felt like I was going to throw up. So this whole time, I whispered, it's been inside me? Yes. And now it's waking up? Yes. I stared straight ahead. No mirrors. No windows. Just darkness. And what happens if I lose control? I asked. You don't understand. No, I cut her off. I'm not going back into that building until you tell me everything. A pause. Then, fine. I didn't expect her to agree that quickly. But you're running out of time, she added. That didn't sound reassuring. Then start talking, I said. A deep breath on her end. What you experienced 8 months ago, she began, wasn't random. Yeah, I figured that part out. You saw something you weren't supposed to. That's what you said before. What was it? Another pause. Then, a transfer. I frowned. A transfer of what? Her answer came slowly. Consciousness. My grip on the wheel tightened. That's not real. It is, she said. And you walked into it. My mind was racing now. No, that doesn't make any sense. You're saying I saw someone switch bodies or something? Not exactly, she replied. Then what? Another pause. Then, think of it like something that moves between people. You need to ground yourself, she said quickly. Focus on something real. Something physical. Your hands, your breathing, anything. I gripped the steering wheel. Cold. Solid. Real. Inhale slowly, she continued. Count to 4. I did. Exhale. Again. For as long as possible. Don't look at any reflective surfaces. I let out a shaky breath. Why? Because that's how it observes you. That didn't help. At all. And right now, she added, it's trying to sync with you. Sync. I repeated. Yes. Movements. Reactions. Behavior. I felt sick again. If it fully synchronizes. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. It replaces me, I said quietly. Yes. Silence filled the car again. But it wasn't empty. It felt crowded, like something was sitting right behind me. Watching. Waiting. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. So what's the plan? You need to come inside, she said immediately. No, I replied just as fast. Her voice cut through the silence like a knife. Too late, because I had already seen it. The reflection, in the rearview mirror. It didn't just look different this time. It was delayed. No, that's not right. I was delayed. I lifted my hand slowly, and for a split second, the reflection was already moving. Ahead of me, like it knew what I was about to do. My chest tightened. I need you to listen to me very carefully, she said, her voice low, controlled, but I could hear the panic underneath now. What is happening? I whispered. It's becoming aware of you. Aware. That word made my stomach drop. What does that mean? I asked. It means it knows you can see it. I swallowed hard. And that's bad, right? Silence. Very. I forced myself to look away from the mirror. Because every instinct was telling me. Don't make eye contact. What do? I asked. Control. You stop being you. My hand started shaking again. And what happens to me? I asked. Her answer was barely above a whisper. We don't know. Of course they didn't. But we do know one thing, she added. What? It gets stronger every time you don't notice it. That didn't make any sense. What do you mean? It learns, she said. From you. From your habits. Your thoughts. Your emotions. I felt sick. And eventually, she stopped. Eventually what? Her voice cracked slightly. Eventually, you won't be able to tell the difference anymore. A long silence followed. Then, something happened. Something small. But enough. I glanced up at my rearview mirror. And for a split second, I saw it again. That same thing from the reflection. But this time, it didn't disappear immediately. It stayed. Just for a moment longer. Long enough for me to notice one detail. It was smiling. But I wasn't. It moved before I did. Don't move. Moments where I'd lose track of time. Find myself in a different room without remembering walking there. Waking up tired. even after a full night's sleep. And sometimes, feeling like I wasn't alone, even when I was. Maybe, I admitted quietly. Her tone sharpened instantly. What kind of things? I hesitated. Then I told her. About the reflection. About the missing time. About the feeling. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, there was silence. Heavy silence. That's not good, she said finally. Yeah, you said that before, I replied. Care to explain this time? Another breath. We were hoping it hadn't started yet. Started what? Her voice dropped again. Manifesting. I froze. What? Whatever came back with you, she said. It's been dormant. Dormant. Until now. I felt my pulse in my throat. What happens when it manifests? She didn't answer immediately, and I already knew I wasn't going to like it. When it fully takes control. We think something came back with you. My stomach dropped. With me? Yes. I felt cold. Like the temperature in the car suddenly dropped 10 degrees. That doesn't make any sense, I said. I know. No. I mean, what does that even mean? Like something is following me. No. Then what? Another pause. Then, it's inside you. Everything went quiet. I didn't speak. Couldn't. Because suddenly, a memory surfaced. Not from 8 months ago. From yesterday. I was in my apartment. Alone. Or at least, I thought I was. I remembered walking into the kitchen, getting water, and then, a reflection, in the microwave door. For a split second, I thought I saw someone standing behind me. But when I turned around, nothing was there. I brushed it off at the time. Told myself it was just my eyes playing tricks. Now, I wasn't so sure. Have you noticed anything strange? She asked. I didn't answer right away. Because I had. Little things. Then, that's exactly what we've been trying to figure out. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was the only way my brain could cope. So you've been watching me, I said. Tracking me. Studying me like some kind of experiment. Yes. At least she didn't lie. Why didn't you tell me? Because if you're what we think you might be, she said slowly, then telling you could have triggered something. Triggered what? We don't know. That answer again. We don't know. I rubbed my face with my free hand, trying to ground myself. Okay, I said. Let's say I believe you. Just for a second. What exactly do you think I am? This time, the silence was longer. Too long. And then, we don't think you're something else. I frowned. We think. She hesitated. You're still you. That's supposed to be reassuring? I snapped. No, she said. Because that's not the problem. Then what is? Her next words came out slowly. Carefully. You were calm. Too calm. A cold wave ran through me. You weren't limping, she continued. You weren't panicking. I couldn't breathe properly anymore. You just stood up, she said, looked around. My heart was racing now. And smiled. Everything inside me went still. Smiled. I repeated. Yes. That doesn't make any sense, I said. Why would I? Because, she interrupted softly, that wasn't you. What if I'm not me anymore? No. The word came out automatically. Instinct. Denial. That's not possible, I said, shaking my head. You're saying I've just been what? Replaced. I'm saying, she replied carefully, that something happened to you that night, and we don't fully understand it. That's not an answer. I know. Silence filled the space between us. I could hear my own breathing. Too fast. Too loud. This is insane, I said finally. If something replaced me, then what am I right now? Another pause. I'll explain later, she said quickly. Right now, you need to understand what happened next. I didn't like that answer, but I let her continue. I called for help, she said. People I trust. Those people. I glanced at the building. Yes. That didn't make me feel better. At first, we thought you were taken, she continued. But then what? She hesitated again, like she didn't want to say it. Then we checked the cameras. My stomach dropped, and her voice lowered. And we saw you. What? You walked away. I blinked. That doesn't make any sense. I know, she said. But that's what happened. No, I mean if there was blood, if something happened, why would I just walk away? That's the problem, she said quietly. What problem? Another pause. Then, because you didn't look like yourself. That sentence hit harder than anything else. What does that mean? I asked slowly. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. Another deep breath. 8 months ago, you called me, she said. I frowned. I don't remember that. I know, she said. But you did. Around 2:17 a.m. 2:17 a.m. For some reason, that time felt familiar. You were panicking, she continued. You kept saying the same thing over and over. My grip tightened. What was I saying? She hesitated. Then, they weren't supposed to see me. A chill went down my spine. I didn't know why, but hearing that felt wrong. What does that mean? I asked. I was hoping you could tell me, she said. I shook my head. I don't remember any of this. I know. Then how do you know I disappeared? Because I went to find you. That caught me off guard. What? You sent me your location, she said. And then your phone died. My mind was racing now. Where was I? Another pause. Then, near an industrial area on the edge of the city. Industrial. That word triggered something. Another flash. Metal. A loud bang. Another deep breath. 8 months ago, you called me, she said. I frowned. I don't remember that. I know, she said. But you did. Around 2:17 a.m. 2:17 a.m. For some reason, that time felt familiar. You were panicking, she continued. You kept saying the same thing over and over. My grip tightened. What was I saying? She hesitated. Then, they weren't supposed to see me. A chill went down my spine. I didn't know why, but hearing that felt wrong. What does that mean? I asked. I was hoping you could tell me, she said. I shook my head. I don't remember any of this. I know. Then how do you know I disappeared? Because I went to find you. That caught me off guard. What? You sent me your location, she said. And then your phone died. My mind was racing now. Where was I? Another pause. Then, near an industrial area on the edge of the city. Industrial. That word triggered something. Another flash. Metal. A loud bang. The words felt hollow the second they left my mouth. Because now that she said it, that gap in my memory, it wasn't just a blur. It was a hole. 8 months ago, I tried to think, really think, and suddenly, I got something. A flash. Rain. Dark street. Headlights. Then, nothing. I staggered back slightly, grabbing the edge of the steering wheel. What happened that night? I asked. On the other end, she took a slow breath. You were taken, she said. My chest tightened. Taken, I repeated. Yes. By who? Silence. The kind that tells you the answer is worse than the question. You're not ready for that part, she said. Try me. Another pause. Then, people who don't let witnesses live. That sentence hit different. Witness to what? I asked. You don't remember that either? She said. No. I could hear in her voice now. Something between frustration and fear. That's not good, she muttered. Yeah, no kidding, I snapped. Start talking. No, I said immediately. You can explain it right now. Another pause. Then, do you remember what happened 8 months ago? 8 months ago? I thought about it. Tried to. And then, I felt it. That strange gap. Like trying to recall a dream that slips away the harder you focus on it. I started, then stopped. Because I couldn't. I couldn't remember. Exactly, she said quietly. My blood ran cold. What did you do to me? I asked. We didn't do anything to you, she replied. Then why can't I remember? This time, her voice changed. Less controlled. More real. Because if you did, she said, you wouldn't be alive right now. Silence. I felt like the ground just disappeared under me. What does that mean? I whispered. You weren't supposed to survive that night, she said. My grip on the phone tightened. What night? Another pause. Then, the night you disappeared. The night I don't remember. Is coming back. I never disappeared. Like he was evaluating something. Then he said something I'll never forget. She told you not to come. My chest tightened. So you know who I am? I said. A small smile. Of course we do. We. I swallowed hard. What is this? I asked. What are you people doing? He didn't answer right away. Instead, he glanced back at the building, then back at me. You really don't know, do you? That tone. Not mocking. Not threatening. Almost curious. No, I said. I don't. He exhaled slowly, like he was deciding something. Then, come inside. The same words she texted me. I shook my head immediately. No, I'm not going back in there. He nodded, like he expected that. Then we'll do this the hard way, he said. My stomach dropped. The hard way, I repeated, but he didn't explain. Instead, he stepped back, pulled out his phone, and made a call. I watched him, frozen. Yeah, he said into the phone. He's here. Pause. He saw more than he should have. Another pause. You shouldn't have done that. And then a third. We need to talk. I stared at the screen, frozen, because in that moment, I realized something terrifying. She wasn't scared. She wasn't worried. She was in control. She was never who I thought she was. The door opened slowly, too slowly, like whoever was inside knew I was watching and wanted me to feel it. A man stepped out, mid-40s maybe, calm posture, no rush in his movements. He looked directly at me, not confused, not angry, like he'd been expecting me. I gripped my phone tighter. Every instinct was screaming at me to drive away. Just leave. Forget all of this. But I didn't, because deep down, I needed answers. He walked toward my car, unbothered, measured, and then he stopped right next to my window. I hesitated, then slowly rolled it down. You shouldn't be here, he said. His voice matched his face. Calm, controlled. Yeah, I replied. I figured that out. He studied me for a second. I ran, down the stairs, out of the building, back to my car. My hand was shaking so badly I could barely unlock it. I sat there, trying to breathe, trying to think. This wasn't cheating. This was something else. Something way bigger. They were watching me, tracking me, talking about me like I was a target. But why? I hadn't done anything. I was just normal, or at least I thought I was. Then something hit me, something I hadn't considered before. What if this wasn't about me? What if I was just part of something bigger? I looked back at the building. Second floor lights still on. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. A camera, mounted above the entrance, pointed directly at the parking lot. And my car, recording everything. My blood ran cold. How long had it been there? How much had they already seen? And then, my phone buzzed. I nearly dropped it. It was her. A text. I know you followed me. My heart stopped. Before I could even react, another message came in. That one hurt the most. Because it was true. I stepped back, trying to process what I was hearing. None of this made sense. Was this some kind of joke? A misunderstanding? It had to be. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Then something happened that changed everything. A chair scraped inside the room. Footsteps, heading toward the door. Panic hit me instantly. I looked around. Nowhere to hide. No time to run back. The door handle started to turn. So I did the only thing I could think of. I walked, not ran. Walked past the door, like I belonged there. Tried to look calm, normal. The door opened behind me. I didn't turn around. Didn't make eye contact. Just kept walking toward the end of the hallway, like I was heading somewhere specific. I expected someone to stop me, to ask who I was, what I was doing there. But no one did. I reached the corner, turned it, and the moment I was out of sight, I didn't hesitate. I slammed my hand into the metal edge. Hard. Pain exploded through my arm. Real. Sharp. Mine. My body jerked. For the first time in minutes, I felt control snap back. Just a little, but enough. I grabbed the door handle. You don't want to do that, it said calmly. Watch me. I threw the door open, stumbled out of the car. Cold air hit my face. Reality. Ground. Now. I dropped to my knees, breathing hard. Stay with it, she shouted through the phone. Don't let it stabilize. I hit my arm again. Pain. Focus. Me. The presence inside me shifted. Less stable now. Less certain. You're making a mistake, it said. No, I said through gritted teeth. I'm making a choice. Silence. Then, for the first time, it sounded different. Not calm. Not controlled. Annoyed. We could have been more, it said. We're done. A long pause. Then, no. And suddenly, everything went black. I woke up on the ground. Morning light. Cold air. My phone next to me. No car. No building. Nothing. Just an empty road. I sat up slowly. Head pounding. Body sore. Everything felt normal. Too normal. I grabbed my phone. One new message. Unknown number. I opened it. Round 2. I froze. Then, the front camera turned on. By itself. And on the screen, I saw my reflection. Perfectly still. Not moving. Even though I was. and slowly, it started to smile. The end?